and welcome back. I hope you all got a fair idea about how to make website accessible. Now let's move on to the next session, which is also the main agenda of the day. Let's talk about inclusive training. We as a trainer, how do we make our training inclusive? Now I still remember, say a few years back when I had to do a training in one of the bank wherein they had employees with disabilities, which included hearing impaired, visually impaired, deafblind, and locomotor disability. Now I have to devise a training program, that to inclusive training program, by catering to all sections of people with disabilities. That was a difficult task, but yes, that was one of my best training program ever which ever happened. Now, let me also share you a couple of important points, like how to make our training accessible. Now, why do you want to make the training accessible? Just think on a bigger note. If we want to expand our user base, right? If you want to expand our customers base to the next level, say for example, if we have to invite people with disabilities for a session so that they also get the benefit out of it, right? So it makes a huge difference in their lives, as well as they can also achieve lot of say informations in terms of trainings, in terms of knowledge, a lot of other things. Yeah. So as a trainer, how do I make my training inclusive? So let me share you a few steps. Now, point number one, the very important one, we as a trainer should get basic sensitization on disability, which includes the basics of mobility. Like if at all you have a visually impaired person coming on the training, you should know the basics of mobility. You should know how to touch, how to guide them, how to hold the hands, and all those things. So that comes under the basic awareness session. Point number two, check whether the building has a ramp. Now, if your audience are the wheelchair users, now make sure that the training facility or or the building should have a ramp, especially at the entrance. See whether training room is accessible. So when I'm saying training room accessible, there are a lot of things which comes into picture. Point number one, see whether the training is in the ground floor or in the first floor. If it is in the ground floor, it is still easy, it is okay. But if it is in the first floor, then make sure that you have a lift, and the lift is spacious enough for a wheelchair user to get into it so that he can also reach out to the lift numbers. Next, check whether the training room is spacious enough for people with disabilities to walk around, to move around, right? Now, if you have people with low vision who cannot see at one particular distance, make sure that you have hard copies with printed text materials in a little bit bold format, so that at least they can take the materials close to your eyes and close to their eyes, and they can see it. Otherwise it becomes very difficult for them to read the things in the PPT. And plan your activities based on the type of disabilities. Now we cannot have all types of activities for all kind of disabilities, but assuming that you have certain number of disabilities, so think and start planning your activities based on the type of disabilities. And most of the people with disabilities are visual learners, so which will help us planning the activities in a better way. Now, always explain different kinds of routes which is there in the training room. Say the entry routes, the exit routes, washroom, okay, buffet area, so that they know where to go without any help. Next, also try to extend the breakout time so that PWDs can take their own time to go get refreshed and come back. Make sure you have 3 to 4 facilitators to help PWDs in their mobility part. Now, if you have a hearing audience, make sure that you do a little bit of sensitization and set the expectations clearly that, hey, we also have people with different kinds of disabilities, so this is the entire structure of the program. Sitting arrangements to be done in a very specific manner based on the type of disability, with a lot of space to move around. Okay. And if you have visually impaired coming for the session, then make sure that you ask them to come with a laptop so that you can give them the brief summary of the training material in the soft copy, so that they can use it and they can hear it with assistive technologies, say JAWS and NVDA. Otherwise it becomes very difficult for them to see the PPT. If you have a hearing impaired audience, then make sure that you have sign language interpreter, so that the training becomes very effective and you can have lot of interactions with the deaf audience as well. Otherwise it becomes very difficult. Even if you have closed captions, it becomes very difficult because the training won't be that much effective. Request is to arrange a sign language interpreter for the session. Okay. Now, apart from that, if you have a lot of say training videos, or if you have video products, assuming that if you want to reach out to the customer base who are people with disabilities, right, especially the deaf audience, because I specialize in speech and hearing impairment, I know sign language. So my suggestion is add a sign language interpretation to your video along with the closed caption, and then any deaf can go through it, can see it, and he can start absorbing the content. So these are some specific steps to make our training inclusive. Of course, there are a lot of other steps too, but these are some minimum steps which is required. Now, as a trainer, I request every one of you to start taking baby steps and try to think how do we make our training inclusive so that our trainings benefit people with disabilities also. Thank you, and I'm going to come up with the next video where I'm going to talk about sign language. So stay tuned. Thank you.